All right, what's good? Welcome back to another episode of the Highlight Reel. We have some very special guests today. I'm going to go ahead and let y'all introduce yourselves because I'm going to grill y'all later. So go ahead. Go ahead.
He's going to grill us.
No, for real.
Go ahead.
My name's Yanni. 20 years old from Maryland, and I own a Christian streetwear brand called Wise Label, and I'm one of the co-hosts of Growing Painz Podcast.
Oh. All right, go ahead.
Hey, y'all. I'm Jayda. I'm from Texas, but I live in Atlanta. Also a host of Growing Painz Podcast. And I'm the owner of couture fashion brand Jayda. I've been doing fashion my whole life. And yeah, that's a little bit of
Period. I'm Jariah. I'm the host. I quit. But so I really wanted to have y'all on. Oh yeah, we are also missing a guest. His name is Travion. He is a third of the Growing Painz Podcast. He couldn't make it. He got stuck in traffic. So Travion, whenever you watch this, hopefully you made it there safe. But yeah, so I just wanted to have y'all on because when I met y'all in Miami, I told Jayda this. I don't know if I told you this, but I was actually starstruck when I met y'all. Just because, so out of everybody that I met in Miami, I feel like I was the most probably nervous. I think I was nervous, but encouraged and kind of excited to meet y'all.
That's cool.
Because I feel like what y'all talk about on y'all's podcast and what I talk about on mine have a lot of similar themes. So I figure why shouldn't we collab? But I think I was nervous to ask y'all that. I was nervous to ask y'all that just because I was honestly putting y'all on a pedestal, of course, because of the network that y'all are on, right? But then once I kicked it with y'all,
we started freestyling.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Once I kicked it with y'all, so when we were, and shout out to my homie Hassan, because I feel like he kind of helped me to basically get more comfortable with y'all, because I had actually just met him right before we hung out, which was funny because we hit it off real quick. I had to ride with him to wherever we was going. But after, when we were about to go out and everything, and I got in that car and y'all were already freestyling, I was like, y'all have no idea that I do this. Like, I do this all the time. So
I feel like you was laughing at us in your head because he turned out to be a real rapper.
No. So I was actually proud of y'all because y'all didn't stop. The whole time y'all were rapping, y'all didn't stop. Whether it sounds good to me or not does not necessarily matter. I felt like, okay, y'all will all do it. Travion was rapping too. Now, of course, I knew once I started rapping, y'all were gonna be like, wait a second, you do this.
Exactly.
No, but I wasn't about to come in cocky or nothing like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was like, all right, we all gonna chill, but I'm gonna rap. They'll be wild. I'll show them some whatever stuff, and then we'll go from there. But what was I about to say? So I'm thinking about our experience in Miami. What were some of the biggest takeaways that y'all had from like that whole weekend?
For me, it was the content.
Yeah.
CJ was on stage.
Yeah.
And he was saying how you can't be known for so many different stuff. He was saying how E.T., he's known for like one thing.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what stuck with me.
I was actually going to say the same thing. I was going to say branding. Yeah, branding definitely. And then also I feel like when we left the trip, the ride back, I felt like my creative juices was just flowing. Like our ride was like 10 hours plus a little longer because the whole tire situation.
I love driving.
And so
that's a trip, man. That's a long trip.
It was cool though.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It felt like a family
Exactly.
trip,
I honestly feel like that made us closer as a whole.
And who was mainly driving?
So much time.
All of us.
Yeah, but on the way back, Yanni drove a long time.
Okay,
and I feel
good.
like he was about to say something shady.
I was. I heard you can't drive.
I can drive.
You can drive?
Yanni, I can drive, right?
Yeah. That's right. See?
She can drive. She can drive.
Exactly. That's the old me.
That's the old you?
Yes.
I feel it.
Period.
But so we out here in Atlanta and y'all be shooting out here. What are some of y'all favorite experiences that y'all have had shooting for Growing Painz so far?
I would say the bonding that takes place before we record.
Yeah.
Like
That takes place before?
Yeah, before.
Explain that.
Like we be singing, rapping.
Yeah.
We just be doing anything.
Exactly. And it's crazy to see the whole transition of how things started off at first.
Yeah.
I feel like it wasn't that we were awkward with each other. It just was like, I don't know.
Yeah, because
distant or a little distant or
yeah, because we were just well, me and Jayda, really all of us.
Yeah, because I knew Trey, but we was not friends.
Yeah, same with me and Trey. Like we were starting to build that bond, but for me and you, we didn't know each other at all.
Exactly.
So that bonding that takes place before we record, it's like, oh, like she cool for real, you know?
Okay. Exactly.
And y'all were doing that before y'all first episode, or no?
Well, like right before we start recording, we just be like doing a lot.
Before all of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like how we get in our mode, I guess. But that's one of the dope parts. And also, I say, as far as the podcast goes, the access that we get. The access that we get to the studio and connections and resources. Yeah. That's been pretty cool too, just knowing that we're able to have certain people on our show or do certain things like that because of our connections and resources.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So, because I'm thinking, so y'all are basically saying how that bonding helps y'all to maybe decompress before y'all start? Like, do y'all get nervous?
No, but I think it gets us in that right. It helps start the episode off on a high note. Okay. Instead, like, sometimes we did an episode recently where it started off slow and then it built up with a guest. But I think that's how our episodes used to be a lot when it was just our solo episodes. Like, they always started off slow, I felt like, and then they would like build up. And so now
that bonding helps us start off on a good energy.
We be laughing and they'll be getting annoyed.
Taking pictures.
Exactly. Doing just a lot. So yeah.
Because I definitely feel like, so I think part of the reason why I was maybe so encouraged when I met y'all was because I feel like I can see myself in y'all. You know what I mean? Because me and Jayda are close in age, and then I was 20 at one point. You know what I mean? So I can relate to basically everything that y'all are saying. And I definitely think it's cool that when I learned y'all kind of met before the podcast, or y'all didn't really know each other before the podcast, but that's not the impression that I get. Because when I see y'all now, some people might think y'all are best friends. Some people probably think y'all are siblings. You know what I mean? So when I see y'all, I'm always
that fruit.
Yeah. You said that fruit? What's that?
It's something somebody just started saying to us.
Yeah, but when I met y'all, I was thinking, wow, they cool. They're really cool people. I would love to work with them. I could just see myself in a lot of the things that y'all do. But what are some of the hard parts that y'all have experienced shooting y'all's podcast?
Miscommunication.
Yes.
Explain that.
Ooh.
Like being on the same page, making sure that everybody's in alignment with where we're going, the concept of the podcast, because we're similar, but we're still all different. So making sure we're all on the same page and speaking up when you don't agree with where the podcast is going, or people, how an episode we shot, or people we're bringing on.
So definitely communication, and then also being ourselves. At first, when we first started recording those first couple of months of our episodes, you see glimpses of our personalities for sure, but now you really see like, oh, they're being themselves. And so I think that's one of the cool parts. And I know for me personally, at one point when we were recording, I was like really depressed for like a few months. And so I remember feeling bad because I knew like I wasn't showing up how I needed to, or like handling the things that I was supposed to handle. Like at that point, I was supposed to be doing like quotes and stuff for our Instagram page. I just wasn't doing them because it was just so hard for me to show up for my own self. So it's also hard to show up for the podcast.
I kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit more, just because when you are in a group dynamic, it might feel easy, especially in a group of three. Sometimes it can feel easy to maybe feel not cornered, but it could always turn into situations where it's 2 and 1, right? So in that, when you were feeling that, do you feel like coming to see them when y'all record was helping you, or do you feel like it was making things a little harder for you to record?
Well, I feel like when we were recording during that time, I kind of had up a wall because we're still building a relationship. I still didn't feel like I knew them the best. So I'm going through all of this stuff in my head, but I'm not telling them. But the moment we had a talk one day and I just let everything out, it just like we were good after that. Like, even I feel like that helped with me being depressed because I wasn't really talking to anybody about what's going on. So it's like once I talked to them, I just felt like I don't know. It was like a weight lifted. Yeah.
Okay. And have you ever felt anything like that? As far as maybe you've gone through something and you think it's making it harder for you to show up, or you feel like being with them is making it easier for you to do it?
I would say balancing the work, because for my podcast, I do the clips, right? And so...
You said for your podcast?
For our podcast.
Okay, my fault.
For sure. So it's like I have clients, I got my clothing brand, and on top of that, I have to get clips. So sometimes missing deadlines, like the clips are supposed to be done on Friday. Why are you not doing it? Well, I'm just trying to learn how to manage my time. And so now that's leaking into into our podcast, because it's like the work needs to be done so we could post. And it's like, I know that when I lack in my area, now Trey can't do what he needs to do because I didn't do my part, you know?
Yeah. So
learning personal development, because at the end of the day, I feel like the foundation of that is me just learning how to manage my time. So yeah.
I was thinking about something as y'all are both speaking. Do y'all still feel like new podcasters? Cause I feel like y'all are still kind of new, but at the same time, I don't feel that. So
it's weird. So Zell always says you're only 20 episodes in. But I feel like our vision for the podcast is new. So it's like, right now, I feel like a new energy for the podcast, because it's like we have an actual plan that we're about to execute. So it's like now it feels like, okay, you know how they say like BC, like before Christ, like
Also, you feel like this is now the starting point,
This is the actual starting point of the podcast. I feel like everything before was just like a trial,
like
real.
a pre-run.
Yeah,
I would say
that's interesting.
I agree with that, but when we record, I don't feel like new when we record. Like before, I used to be like kind of not sheltered, but like not as comfortable or a little nervous. So on that tip, I feel good. Like I'd be ready to record. But as far as what Jayda said, I completely agree. Like I feel like as far as where the podcast is going, that part feels new.
And then it's crazy because I guess the things that will make me remember that, oh, I guess this is still a new podcast, is when I see people who like Hassan, he's about to be on episode 100, or like David's on episode 300 and something. So then when I do think like, oh, we really are only on episode 23 or 24, it's like, oh dang, I guess we are pretty new, you know? But it doesn't feel like that necessarily. So
like
I feel that.
Just past 6 months, right?
Yeah,
time went by fast.
for real.
Because I'm thinking probably because of some of the guests that y'all have spoken to, it makes you feel like you have that experience. It's like, wow, we getting to speak to these people. But when I think about it, cause I think the podcast started earlier this year.
Yeah, like March is when it launched.
In my head, it's been way longer than that. In my head, I'm thinking it's longer than that.
That's crazy.
But y'all were just hitting the 6 month mark, like y'all were saying, right?
Yeah.
So for it to be at that point, but for it to feel like one thing, but it's actually another thing, I was wondering how that felt for y'all, because I've had my podcast since April of 2022, and it still feels kind of new because I'm still learning so many different things and as far as how to improve it. But in a way, I already feel like a vet. I don't want to say that, trying to talk like I'm just.
You feel like an OG?
I don't even want to say an OG. I just have experience where people come to me asking me questions about how I do my podcast. And then when they see improvements, they're thinking, hold up, like what you doing? This is me learning on the go, still just improving. So when people come to me, it feels great. First off, you asking me how to do a podcast, or now I've become one of those. I'm getting chills low key. So when people come to me and they say, "Hey, I have a friend that wants to start a podcast. I thought of you. Can I send them to you?"
Oh, that's cool.
That has been happening to me way more than it used to, of course. And I think it also shows how people. I think when you show that you're willing to help yourself, people will be willing to bring people to you or also help you. So it's just so many different experiences that are going on to me for me, because I feel new in a way. It hasn't even been 2 years, but I know some people haven't made it to a certain number of episodes already. So for me to maybe, for example, like my last season, I did like 28 episodes from the top of the year to about August, right? I had that many. So that's a lot, especially every week. And I was basically doing it by myself. But I also know that this is something I love to do. Mm-hmm. No one has to get me up to do this. I know I love doing it.
Yeah.
So when I get to do it, I'm also showing myself like, yeah, you love this, but I'm showing everybody else that I'm learning on the go. I'm still doing something I love, and I'm gaining experience, but I'm still new at it too.
And I feel like it's cool when somebody resonates you with what you do.
Yeah.
Because it shows that you're showing up consistently at a high level to the point where people can look at you. Because I know when people come to me for like clothing brand help or help with God and stuff, I'm just like, that's really cool, you know?
No, same.
Let's get into that a little bit. So it seems like every one of y'all has your own personal brand, which is your own personal brand and your own business. I want to say that, your own business.
Yeah.
Do y'all maybe help each other with each other's businesses, or as far as business ideas, different things like that? Or so first off, I'm going to ask that question. Do y'all kind of give each other ideas on business ideas and things like that?
Yeah, for sure. We do like weekly book club. And so we'll like run ideas by each other.
It's just for y'all, the book club?
Yeah.
Y'all three? Okay.
Oh, well,
Us three and one more person.
Okay.
I
met Gomi.
Yeah. So we do book club, and that's when we kind of like bounce ideas off of each other, things like that. And then even I'll say for me, I know Trey and Yanni have helped me get in my content bag a lot. Because when we started, so I used to do a lot of stuff for my fashion brand.
Yeah.
But I just became like very inconsistent with it. But I also needed to start doing stuff for a personal brand. And so Yanni and Trey, they would get on me, and now I'm like getting better at it.
Now Jayda be vlogging and stuff.
So that's funny because when we were in Miami and I started recording, I flipped my phone around. Y'all were saying, "Oh, it's like every time we get around people, we make them into content creators." I'm like, "Hold on, I got a podcast though." Like, how that work? You know what I'm saying? But I will say, I think watching y'all's videos and then watching Trey's vlogs, just seeing how you just flip your phone around, don't use the front camera, use the back camera. That just feels weird because you can't see what's happening. But I think when y'all did it, I said, man, I'm gonna do it, and I just did it, and it was funny. But every time I see y'all's videos, y'all's vlogs, it cracks me up. I kind of want to talk about something real quick. All right, so y'all recently did a Impractical Jokers.
Oh yeah.
How'd that go? How was that? Like that experience. Were y'all super nervous to do any of that stuff?
For sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, bro. It was, some of it got cut out. It was at one point I told Yanni to lay on the floor and do like snow angels, in the grass or whatever. She said, I am not about to do that
on this dirty turf.
No, for real.
Go ahead, my fault.
I was just gonna say it was really fun. We're really trying to just do new stuff for the show, like to add to the experience of the podcast
and show our personality more.
Exactly. So it was hilarious.
It's funny watching y'all, man, because when I watch y'all, I'm thinking, could I do that? Would I do that? I feel like that's easy because I could almost blame you. Whoever told me to do it, I could say somebody else told me to do that. I just did it because when you start thinking about it, that's when you get in your own head. You're gonna say, all right, I can't do it.
Yeah, that's
what was you about to say?
No, because I'm like, you saw Trey's. He just started barking in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah,
and you're not supposed to say, "Oh, so and so." Someone just told me. The only reason Trey did is when the cop came up to him, and said something, and Trey was like, "Oh, I'm recording a video."
See, I think in my head, it just makes it easier to do it because it's like, okay, someone else told me to do it. I didn't want to do that, but someone else said to do it. I just did it. You know it's gonna be funny, and you know it's gonna throw people off. Because sometimes I've told people this. It sounds weird, maybe a little random, but sometimes I'll do something random because I'm, romanticizing my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do it just to say I did it.
Yeah.
And I can have a story about it. Like when I'm telling my kids, it's
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like having stories to tell.
So you do random stuff is what you're saying?
I've had okay, so we went what's it called? Riding scooters downtown at like 4 a.m, and there's this dark alley, and I'm like, bruh,
let's go down this.
Exactly, because that's gonna be a story to tell. So I'm like that type of person.
No. You said let's go down this dark alley.
And then when I went down the dark alley,
you seen horror movies.
Yeah,
right?
But when I went down the dark alley,
it
was just nice houses.
What?
It was just nice houses at the end of the alley.
At the end of the alley.
Yeah, so it's like they could
wait, pause. 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Right? Dark alley.
Yeah. Adventure.
I wouldn't romanticize it like that.
Adventure.
She's like, come on, y'all.
Exactly.
Let's go right down this alley. No, there's
Bro,
no
I was like,
way.
I'm not going down there. I was about to, but I'm like,
In one way, well, you know what? No, because so
you did it before.
Exactly.
No. Okay, so one time, me and my friends, we went. This is crazy. This story's coming up. We went to somewhere we were not supposed to go, and it was super late at night. I think I was doing it just to kind of prove to myself I'm not scared. Yeah. I could do it, and I'm with my homies. But we were in tunnels, and we didn't know when they ended. I'm tall. The tunnel was slowly getting smaller, so we would have to turn back. No one ever wants to be the last person in the group, right? But I like to let people lead before me because I feel like I'm gonna make better decisions than others. You know what I mean? As far as keep checking your back, all that stuff. Yeah. But we went to this place and I didn't really want to go, but I guess I did something like that. But I don't know. Still a dark alley though.
You were in a dark tunnel.
Exactly.
Oh dang, yeah. I mean, I was in a. You know what?
Exactly.
Okay, whatever. Nah. But I like doing things like not always like that, but things that I know just
add something to your life.
Yeah. When you going like through your day to day, just because sometimes you need to be on your go mode like that, but sometimes something as simple as anybody that you think you want to talk to, you just talk to them.
Yeah, it's like, well,
that's nerve wracking though.
It can be something simple as like going up to someone and talking to someone. I think I just like the adrenaline of things. I like that feeling. That
true. There's definitely an adrenaline. I was gonna say that's a weird way to say it, but that's true.
Yeah, it's like it's the same as when you're on a roller coaster and then your heart drops to your stomach. I love that feeling.
You know,
it's like it's just like something about it. Like
that
I don't know.
reminds me of that Bible verse that says, "Enjoy your youth" or something like that.
Yeah,
and so it's cool because it's like that's actually a good perspective to have because like you're only going to be young once.
Exactly.
But when does your youth end? You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
because if you always have I feel like that's somewhat of a mindset thing. You could always have a child like.
Okay, are you gonna be 80 riding scooters?
Definitely.
About to say you can't. So you saying you wouldn't want to?
No, but it's like
you wouldn't want to.
I would.
Oh, okay. So you would.
But look at you. It won't be the same condition. You know, when you're younger, you have.
If
more
I'm
energy.
Saying as I'm riding a scooter at 5,
not that
at 80. If I'm like we on a scooter and I'm 80 and I'm like we riding a scooter and I'm 12. Okay, yes, I aged, right, but if I still get that same
still a
feeling,
child at heart.
Yeah, I feel like that's not a bad thing.
I mean, I don't think that's necessarily bad.
Child, you could be a child at heart, but not in the mind necessarily. You know what I'm saying?
Still, as you get older, your body's gonna keep you from doing something.
You won't be able to enjoy it. Like get off the roller coaster, your back hurting.
True. You could always, just make sure you stretch, make sure you take care of your health.
That's a
all that good stuff. But nah, I just think that taking some random things to do sometimes it just adds to your life.
Yeah, it does. Like whether it's going to a restaurant or like you never been before, or I don't know, just like the little things. It's like I think I'm getting more into that, or I want to get more into that. It's just truly enjoying my life and it not being so much about like work or whatever. I want to live my life.
At like 5 a.m.
Yeah,
4 a.m. We be outside.
Wow, dang, y'all be out that late?
And not like a lot, but it's starting to be more recent.
But I feel like
so y'all are bonding.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like that's why how I have all these stories about hitting grandmas and all this stuff. It's just like
we don't leave that story out.
I feel like I don't live.
That's a crazy story.
I feel like I don't live a boring life. Like I have all this stuff to talk about. Good. And I want to continue to have
good stories,
experiences and stuff to talk about. Like my dad is the exact same way. He has he's a story person. So it's like I'm the same way.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do y'all? So all right, we talking about stories. Is there ever a time where y'all are shooting for your podcast and it's a story that you want to tell but you feel like you can't?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Because timing. maybe like the conversation is now going this way, and it's like, well, if I tell this story, it's gonna like just throw everything off. So I'm like, we'll just tell it another time.
Yeah, I'll say timing, but timing as far as like it's not time for me to tell this story yet, or also
really. Because I'm thinking with something like that.
Like if I'm going through something in the moment, I don't want to talk about it right now. But when I'm over the thing, I'll talk about it. So
so for your so for the podcast, if y'all are going through something in the moment, do neither one of y'all like talking about it in the moment?
It depends what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, like I was open with telling the podcast. I said on the podcast multiple times, y'all, like I'm depressed right now. Like in the episodes, like I've been depressed. Yeah, I'm not about to tell them why.
Yeah,
but I'm telling them that, you know. Or there's been instances where I haven't said a story because I feel like I had like parts of my past is wild, and then it's like, should I say this?
Yeah,
even though it's not who I am at the moment, it's like,
because that's something I always run into. Whenever I'm going through something, I actually would like to talk about it, but I don't want it to be just a rant. And I feel like that's always hard because when you're in it, sometimes that's your way to talk through it. Because I did that not too long ago. I was feeling some feelings or whatever, so I talked about it, and that's actually one of the most uncomfortable episodes I've shot because I was by myself when I did it. But I wanted to talk about it because it was truly on my mind. I hadn't shot episodes because of it and everything. I said, look, this is what's going on. This is what's on my mind. And then after I talked about it, which seems to happen often, after I talked about it, people came on and said, bro, somebody said in the comments, bro, he perfectly explained how all of us are feeling in, perfect words. I said, wow, because I didn't even want to put that out. I don't like doing that, but it was something I had to get out, and I had to make sure that I spoke about it. Even though it was uncomfortable for me, it's probably uncomfortable for someone else, so maybe I will help you feel more comfortable in talking about it because you're not by yourself. And I was just wondering if y'all ever experienced things like that as podcasters, because that's something that is maybe prevalent as a podcaster. People think some of these podcasts need to get off the mic. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't listen to everybody that you hear because some people just talk nonsense or they just want to rant, and not everybody's. There's nothing wrong with ranting, but I think there should be a point. You should bring it to a point. You should have a reason for why you're saying this so we can resonate and then go forward from there. Okay, this happened. You mad about it. What are you going to do? Or what did you learn from it? What is that going to do for me? I just learned that you're mad. That does nothing for me.
Not just talking about the problem.
Yeah, like that does nothing for me. And I always think that's a slippery slope. Slippery slope because you want to get it out.
I feel like if you attach a lesson to it, or just something that people can get from it, I think it's cool.
Right. Because it's like, otherwise, the listeners will be like, I got my own problems. You just sitting here ranting.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but you have your own problem, but I'm showing you we might have a similar problem.
And that's another thing. I feel like it's power in your story. Some people, a lot of people, especially young people, they feel alone. They feel like, oh, I'm the only one going through this. But when you hear someone say, oh, I go through this too, it kind of makes you feel, or I'm going through this right now, it kind of makes you feel like some sort of comfort,
Exactly. And I feel like the thing that you don't want to talk about is the thing that you need to talk about.
Yeah.
That is true. Because that one thing that you're trying to hold back could help so many people. Because there's probably other people that feel or experienced what you don't want to say. And it's like, you're keeping them in bondage by being selfish of not wanting to say it. Because I know for me, I'm just now saying, like, you know what I'm saying? I used to smoke. I used to do all this. And it's like, people probably think I'm like the perfect Christian or perfect Christian my whole life. It's like, no, I used to live in.
There is, people are able to relate in basically your mistakes. Yeah. Because none of us are perfect. So I get that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I still feel like there's some things I'm just not going to say right now. It's like, and I know there are things that I've been through that would actually help a lot of people.
But it's still. Yep.
I would talk to someone one-on-one and like, I'm better at that. I can talk to someone one-on-one and let them know, oh, this is some things I've been through. I know I could see that you've been through this as well. Like, this is how I overcame it. This is how I got through it. That I don't care about. But on the podcast, where it's like I have no control over who is hearing my story, I just kind of...
Yeah, for sure.
True.
And then I feel like it goes back to timing. Like, there's a timing on when you say everything. If you feel like you should say it, but you don't, maybe you should say it. But if it's like a no, like I need to keep this in right now until I overcome it or it gets solved, then you just hold it in.
Right. Because as we're talking about all these things that we might experience that we either want to speak about and do speak about or don't want to speak about and we still do, I was wondering if y'all feel like when you're shooting for your podcast and you're doing your episodes, do y'all really feel like y'all are making an impact? Do y'all feel like y'all are changing people's lives?
I think so. Well, I feel like in the moment,
and
sometimes I feel like we're not.
Go ahead. Well, so my one thing with that was, because if I ask you, do you feel like you're changing somebody's life? In a way, you might feel like, dang, you putting a lot on me. You know, you might not necessarily claim it that way, but when you do tell your story, you can help somebody else in theirs. So that's why I'm asking, do y'all feel like y'all are actually making an impact?
I think so, because of people that we've met.
That's what I was gonna say.
Like, especially like younger kids, teenagers and stuff like that. I feel like we've definitely impacted them. And I know that we already do that through our own brands. I know that especially for me and Yanni, through our own brands, we've already impacted people all over the world. So it's just like, I know we'll do the same thing through Growing Painz.
And then like the comments.
And
stuff like that. So feedback we're receiving
lets us know.
That we're doing right there.
Yeah, because that's why if we wasn't getting the feedback, I would probably think,
exactly.
But every time we meet people in person, or like you said, with the comments and things like that, it's like, oh, like we're doing something.
Somebody,
Okay, so you all are mentored by David. So what is one of the hardest pieces of feedback that you individually got from him? Like something he said, you can get better at this. And you took it kind of hard, like, man, you tripping, but he was right. And then you actually kind of changed it.
Well, I'll say this was like him and Donnie, but they told me I don't listen. And they was like, they were like saying they gave me advice on something to do. And it's like, you didn't do it.
Okay.
Or you took too long to act on it.
That's relatable though.
And when I first met them, they were like talking about like, oh wow, you were so great, you're so amazing, like we would love to invest in you. Like they were sending me customers, all of that. And then they would give me advice and I would just feel like I'm gonna just go with my own plan. I wouldn't really listen to them. And so I remember like at one point Donnie was like, I don't know the whole thing she said, I just remember the ending part of it. She said, well, you don't listen, whatever. And I was just like, dang, she's right.
I would take that hard too.
Yeah, because especially when it's people you look up to, but it's like,
yeah,
I know in general I'm hard-headed, so. Yeah.
Take
note of that. All right. What about you?
I would say for me, maybe I was on his hot seat. Have you seen that? So for y'all that don't know, David does a segment where he brings somebody on and it's just him and the other person. And he takes like the interrogation role or whatever. And so I did that. And he was just telling me, he was challenging me in my faith. I feel like that's something that made me think like, I need to learn more about my faith, you know, so I can defend it, you know, especially if it's something I'm walking in. If I want to witness to somebody, I need to know what I'm talking about. So that was challenging for me.
See, what I love about those is, because he's even said it, he's kind of playing a character when he does those.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's truly making everybody that goes on there uncomfortable, but he's trying to make you grow.
Yeah.
Which is something that I've taken away from when I watch those, because if someone is going to question you on all these things, you'll feel like defensive. So if someone says you like this, or I say, hey, do you like this? And you say, yes, I like this. And I say, why? That is actually something that's going to make you more defensive compared to me saying, what about it makes you like it? You'll then say what instead of being like, wait, you asking me, you know, it feels, when you ask somebody why, it feels like you're attacking them. That's something I learned in school. Yeah. So watching him do that, I always feel like that's something that is helping everybody grow. But sometimes it's just funny too. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it's funny, but I do feel like he's challenging everybody that goes on there, which I think we all need, because you kind of, whatever you do feel, I do think you should be able to defend it. Some people say it just is what it is. Like, well, you like it for a reason. Yeah. What is that reason? What's the reason behind there? True. So, I just wanted to ask y'all, because I definitely feel like, at least for me, as far as my podcast, like I was saying, I do feel like I'm making an impact because people will then come to me asking me questions about how to improve their podcast, how to do all these different things. And I've had people tell me from the conversations that I've had.
I was just about to say that.
What?
Yeah, your conversations are really good on
I
the
appreciate
podcast,
that.
for sure.
Yeah, some people have told me from the conversations that I've had with certain individuals, they say, man, that was deep. And you, of course, want to make an impact, but when you see the impact being made, you think, dang, this is actually working. Okay, like, let me do more of this. So it's always encouraging, and I just wanted to ask how y'all feel as podcasters as well. Also, pick y'all brains a little bit on y'all's podcast and y'all's brands and just who y'all are as people. Because I actually think it's kind of interesting that it's just me and y'all, because now I get to ask y'all all the questions. And I do feel like y'all grill my boy Travion a little bit. I feel like y'all grill him just a little bit too much. A little bit too much. Right. So yeah, I'm grilling y'all a little bit on this one. Just a little bit. But for each one of y'all, I want y'all to say one thing that you want to leave the listeners of the highlight reel with, and you could look in this camera.
Okay.
Jayda? You can go. Yanni.
Okay. I'll say keep pushing, keep going through your discouragements. If you have a business, whatever you do, and you don't see the fruits of it, keep going. Because I know that's one thing that helped me. I wanted to give up so many times in my clothing brand. And even in our podcast, there's been disagreements. Never felt like giving up, but there's been disagreements and stuff like that. But I feel like those are just tests to see if you really about what you want, you know? Like if you're in a grade, you're not going to, they give you tests during a grade to see if you're built for the grade you're in, you know what I'm saying? Or to see where you're at. And I feel like that's what the things that come in our path in what we do is like, okay, well, you're posting all this content and you're not getting the views you want. Are you going to still post or are you going to give up? You know what I'm saying? And I think when you push through, you're just showing God, like, I'm really about what I'm doing, you know?
For me, I would say when it comes to pursuing your goals and achieving the success you want for your life, the dream life you have in your mind, instead of running away from fear, run towards it. What you want.
Go ahead.
What you want is on the other side of that fear. And you got to tap into that feeling. Even though that fear, like of achieving those big dreams you have, even though it scares you, that fear is good. I feel like when you're going after something great, it has to be that little bit of fear and a little bit of excitement because you're doing something much larger than yourself. If everything you're going after, it puts no fear in you or no nervousness or anything, that means it's too simple. It's too small. And so as you're just going through life, tap into that fear that you feel because you're going to be so proud of yourself like when you overcome it. So, yeah.
Well said, both of you. Wow. Okay. Let that rest in the air for a little bit. Yeah, let people sit with it. But again, I do want to say thank y'all for being guests on the highlight reel. I'm glad we were able to do it. Again, shout out to my boy Travion. Even though he's not here, that would have been definitely very interesting for sure. Yeah, he here in spirit for sure.
He's always in the middle. Actually, this is how we sit. That's crazy, bro. Literally, this is the order we sit. So Trey in the middle, right here. In spirit.
Yeah, he's here in spirit. I just want to say thank y'all again for being guests. I appreciate you, Yanni. I appreciate you, Jayda. I appreciate the ladies of the Growing Painz Podcast for being being guests on the highlight reel. I appreciate y'all. And I wanted to say thank you to the listener and thank you to the viewer of this episode. Take the time to download, share, subscribe, tell a friend, all those good things. And I hope that you're able to take something away from this episode. But with that has been your episode. And with that, we all going to look into this camera and we're going to say peace out. Peace out.
Bye, y'all. Bye.